Hey, good afternoon. Good Monday afternoon. I hope that your work week is off to a good start because we have a very, very busy forecast to talk about today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and today, tornadoes, hail, wind this afternoon and later on tonight. Now that will mainly be up in the northern plains. So we're talking about Montana, North and South Dakota, and even into places like Minnesota. And for all of those who watched last week, thank you guys for bearing with me as I was getting my voice back. I think it's like 90% back right now, so you may hear it kind of cut in and out this afternoon. We are trying. I mean, it's been cough drop central for me. Let's go back to the forecast here. Yes, rinse and repeat. So we have another round of storms for tomorrow in the exact same place, mainly the northern plains. And of course, if you're not getting storms today, or maybe if you are getting storms, it is hot out there. Holy moly. It is hot this week. This is going to be the hottest week of the year so far. It feels like over 110 in some places. That's insane. That is hard to think about. But again, that feel like temperature, it's that humidity and that heat. What does it feel like out there? Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a look at what happened this weekend. On Friday, we had a pretty significant hailstorm up near Minneapolis, just to the north of Minneapolis in St. Cloud. We have some really impressive pictures of that hail that fell in this area. I think it was South St. Cloud. We have all those pictures on our Facebook and our Instagram pages, and I think maybe even our Twitter pages as well. Sunday evening, it looked like we had quite a few storms across the North Dakota, Montana. This is an area that's going to get hit once again today as well. So let's get into that forecast today. You can see that we've got a warm front that stretches anywhere from Montana all the way across the Dakotas and then down into Iowa. Not only is this helping to bring warmer temperatures into the area, warm temperatures, that's going to help to feed the storms, but it's also going to bring some humidity up here as well. So those humidity levels, pretty good. Dew points look pretty good for this time of the year. And then you're going to see that low pressure system capture in a lot of that moisture, and that's going to help to initiate storms or energize storms this evening. Now, as we look down to the central portion of the U.S., this rain is really helpful for those temperatures, but geez, it is hot out there. Let's take a look at those temperatures actually across the U.S. Just a minute, let's get through the rain first. We've got rain across the southeast, a few showers out in Kansas City this evening or this afternoon. There you go, there's your temperatures. 89 already here in Oklahoma City, 90 degrees down in Dallas, 72, not terrible in Kansas City, but we do have those excessive heat warnings across the U.S. today. And what does that mean? That means that it's not only hot for today, but also tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. It's going to be hot for most of this week. Now getting into those temperatures, let's get into the storm risk here. Here's your storm risk for today. Monday, July 21st, another round of storms in the northern plains. We saw round after round of storms in the northern plains this weekend. We're going to see it again today. We're going to see it again tomorrow, and we're going to see it again on Wednesday, kind of pivoting a little bit into the Great Lakes by Wednesday. So it's just round after round, which is pretty normal for this time of the year. We have usually storms in the early season. We'll start down in the southeast, and then they'll pivot up into the central plains through the mid-season and late season into summer. Most storms will be in the northern plains. This is pretty typical for this time of the year. Another thing that's unfortunately very typical for this time of the year is that heat. Holy moly, extreme heat warning highlighted there in pink. Dangerous heat is what the National Weather Service is saying, feeling like 110 or even hotter. This goes from today all the way through Thursday. So it's a little cut off on the board here, but that warning goes all the way through Thursday. Extreme heat watch. Now this is for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday up in Illinois, portions of Iowa and northern Missouri. And we have a heat advisory for the rest of the U.S. farther down into the southeast. We even have a fire danger, a red flag warning highlighted here in dark pink out to the west. And this is something that we told you about weeks ago, that we said if it stays hot and dry out there, we will have an increased fire danger, and that is exactly what we're seeing today. Alrighty, let's get into that storm highlight here, the significant hail model. So let's just go through the hazards. Let's start with hail. Let's go into wind, tornado risk for today, and then we'll put it all together and I'll show you your timeline today. So here's a look at your largest hailstone. What are we expecting for the largest hailstone here? I would put that in between that golf ball to maybe hen egg sized range here. So we're talking about these darker areas highlighted here in orange. I'm not terribly concerned about Nebraska, but I would go a little bit farther up to the north into places like Montana, North and South Dakota. That is where we're watching for those larger hailstones. Now let's get into your Hailtrace hail forecast here. What we're watching for here is, again, this area highlighted in orange for the largest hailstones. Let's put some cities on the map and give you your risk as well. Highlighted here in yellow, this area right here, I would kind of give you a circle that goes from eastern Montana into the western side of Nebraska and South Dakota. This area right here, that's where storms will fire today. They will start isolated at first, and those isolated storms, if they can stay sustained, then what we're going to see is some decent organization and some of those larger hailstorms. Once they get really, really crowded and we increase our storm coverage across the North and South Dakota central portions of the state, that's whenever it gets really messy and it's hard for large hail to form with a messy setup, okay? That's whenever we start to see that wind threat kick up. Aberdeen, Fargo, Minneapolis will probably get some high winds through the late and even into the overnight hours. This is going to be a late system for some of us. Those isolated storms will also pose a tornado risk from Billings to Bismarck, Aberdeen as well. It's a level 1 tornado risk right now, highlighted there in green. So a few tornadoes are possible today, just right along the state lines here. Now moving into that wind risk, yes, we do have some high winds expected today. And again, I've increased that risk for places like Fargo, Aberdeen, and Minneapolis, and you'll see why here in just a few minutes. What we're watching for here is a line of storms. It starts out very isolated, it congeals into a line of storms, and then we see an increased wind risk in this area. I would say 65 to 75 mile per hour winds are likely today. Now you head down to the south and east, and you're probably going to see some weaker winds, maybe 60 to 70 miles per hour, and it's going to be pretty isolated, but still a few of those storms this afternoon and evening could produce some isolated strong wind gusts down in places like Georgia and South Carolina. Alrighty, here's an overview, a national view of your storms for today, but let's actually zoom right down into the northern plains and let's get a look at the timeline for you. So what we're going to see again are these isolated storms that will start around 3, maybe even 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon and evening. So this is right around or shortly before your evening commute. This is what we're watching for. You see these isolated supercells right here? That is what we're watching for, large hail. Now, as we head into the evening hours, this isolated storm turns into a long line of storms, and that's what we're watching for, that high wind risk, again, on the central to eastern side of North and South Dakota, going all the way into Minneapolis. Have you checked the time? Look at the time here. 7 a.m. Yeah, it's early in the morning. You may be waking up to these storms overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning. What we're going to see here is these strong winds, these strong storms continuing to persist into the early morning hours, bringing us another storm risk for tomorrow across Minneapolis. So I'm going to really focus on these overnight storms here, and we're going to focus on Minnesota just for a minute. You've got maybe an isolated storm or two right here, just south of I-94, right along I-29. But again, it's those overnight storms that we're really going to be watching for in this area. It's going to bring some really heavy rain, potential flood with that as well, and some strong winds. Those are going to be your biggest risks overnight tonight. And there you go. We've also got a flooding risk across the southeast today and some strong winds possible in this area as well. Strong winds, again, we're talking 65, 70 miles an hour. Do we have any questions right now? Before I move on, any questions in the chat? Oh, it's a pretty quiet chat today. Alrighty, well, if you guys have any questions or if you want me to go back to a certain city, let me know. If not, we're going to move on. I think that we're talking about tomorrow. Tuesday, I told you that we're going to see that risk pivot to the east just a little bit. So we're talking about the northern plains and portions of the Great Lakes by Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's take a look at your timeline for tomorrow. Again, we start early in the morning, but then we could have storms in the afternoon as well. You can see that those storms start out around 7 o'clock in the morning across the northern portion of Minnesota. I think we zoom down here in just a minute. There's another line of storms. overnight tonight, tomorrow night and into Wednesday morning. Okay, here we go. So we're going to zoom down into North and South Dakota and into Minnesota. So what we're watching for is early storms. You get a break throughout most of your day. Your lunchtime looks mostly dry. But then we have another round for storms later on in the afternoon and evening. 4 or 5 o'clock, you can see those isolated storms popping back up across North and South Dakota. This will continue to track to the east in a very similar fashion, posing a wind risk once again for the northern portion of Minnesota through the overnight hours Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. This is why I called it a rinse and repeat, because it's a very similar setup today as it is tomorrow. Alrighty, moving on here, let's talk about temperatures. I know, you guys probably don't like these graphics. Maybe if you're out on the lake or at a pool, you love these temperatures, but for most day-to-day workers, this is not fun at all. We are above average today, even warmer tomorrow, even warmer on Wednesday. It just gets hotter, especially for places across the Midwest and across the East Coast as we head into the end of the work week. And again, that is the reason for those extreme heat warnings and watches that are on the board today. Temperatures range from the 80s to 90s today, but I do think we're going to see more triple digits start to filter in as we head into the later portion of the work week. Let's see, we got 101 in Memphis, 101 in Dallas, 100 in Shreveport. Factor in the humidity to that and it feels even hotter. It feels like 110, it feels like 115 in some of these places. How long is this going to last? Whew, a while, yeah. July 26th all the way through the 30th, it looks like we still have a really good chance for temperatures to be hotter than normal. So let's say your normal for this time of the year is 93. Well, it'll probably be 94, 95, 96, 97, and then you've got your heat index or your humidity on top of that, so it feels even hotter. Pretty dry also across the West Coast. You know, we talked about this a few weeks ago, that if we stay in this pattern, we're going to increase the fire danger across the Four Corners, across the West Coast as well. And unfortunately, it looks like all the way through the end of July, we will stay in this hot and dry pattern. And there's your forecast today. Thanks for joining us. I don't see any questions that I missed. I think that we answered all of your questions. But if you do have any weather questions, I'm pretty good about hopping back on Facebook afterwards and answering any questions that you have. Hey, follow us for more weather updates. So we post pictures of your hailstorms, we post pictures of tornadoes and any wind events that we can get. We post that all over our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok pages. We'll post your hail forecast right after this forecast on there as well. And if you're interested in a wind, hail, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Head over to our website for more information at hailtrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here for your forecast, same time, same place tomorrow.